Every day I open the television and I see the journalists dressed in a business suit, right? Like in order to project authority. And they're extremely concerned. Yes, like they're very concerned of the way that America is bullying its allies. And then I'm like, wow, maybe I should be concerned as well. I mean, look, a person in a business suit on the television is concerned, and I'm not. Like, maybe I'm missing something. And so I open the newspapers and I read stuff like this. The British Labour government is willing to rework its Online Safety Act to avoid the Trump tariffs. Oh, so this is why the journalists are concerned? Well, my question is like, why aren't more people aware? Like, we should encourage the journalists to be even more concerned. Like, it seems that my rights, my standard of living, is actually increased the more concerned the journalists are. Because we already covered the fact that the British government wanted to have access to all of Apple's data, including my own, including yours, including your mother's, including your brother, all of us, right? And so, like, they wanted to have access to whatever is in the cloud. If you manage to, like, take a photo of your ID or something like that and put it in the cloud, well, how can you have it there without the British government looking at it? If you have a rash on your right testicle and you're concerned, so you're taking a picture of it in order to send it to your doctor, well, how can the British government allow that to happen without them seeing the photo as well? If you are agreeing with the trucker protest in Canada, well, like, the British government needs to know. Like, how can something happen in the world without the British government knowing, right? Like, this is apparently their mentality. And then when you look at this thing, you realize that the British government has become the clown car of international politics. Like, there is no way that you can say this with a straight face. Even in Germany, by the way. Even in Germany, even in China, even in the Soviet Union, they didn't have the balls to pull something like this. So listen to it, right? They wanted to pass this flagship Online Safety Act, which would force online company to ban so-called harmful but legal speech. Do you understand the absolute mental insanity of this shit? The reason that I'm saying that not even China, not even Russia, not even the fucking Soviet Union, I don't think even Nazi Germany would have passed something like this, because when it comes to an authoritarian state, like, they will actually say what you're not allowed to talk. Like, they will admit, yes, we are censoring. Here are the things you're not allowed to talk about. Like in the Soviet Union and probably in China right now, you look at the legislation and they flat out tell you the stuff that you're not allowed to talk. I'm pretty sure that unofficially, right, like behind closed doors, they may actually censor more than that, but they're not talking about it in public. Like, they're not admitting it. You know, like, even the Chinese government doesn't admit the Tiananmen Square massacre, right? There are certain things that even governments which are a dictatorship are not admitting. Meanwhile, the UK is basically saying, yeah, we will ban stuff that's legal. Like, most people consider it fine. We can't actually convince our population to ban these things, but because we subjectively consider it harmful, we're going to remove it. And the way we're going to remove it is that you won't even know it's coming from the British government. Like, it's not going to be like we, the British government, have decided to remove the South Park joke. No, it will actually be viewed as YouTube is banning your video, or Twitter is banning your video. And of course, like, this can affect, even if you're not a British citizen, because, you know, if you're from Hungary, if you're from the United States, you got free speech, you post some shit on the internet, well, the platform can remove it because a British person can see it. Like this would have caused absolute terror on the internet. It's mental, it's insane, right? Like, again, speech that's legal. Like no one is saying that you're not allowed to say, so no one even knows what that is. But if they consider it to be harmful, so if you say that Skullfuck47 is a bad person, well, maybe Skullfuck is deeply offended by that. And he's got feelings too, you know, and you're pushing him to depression. And so your speech is harmful, and so you need to be banned. I'm sorry, I'm getting really agitated about this because, like, censorship, since I started my channel, was something that I'm very sensitive about, and I really hate what the world is becoming. I genuinely think that the more time moves on, the more Britain is just LARPing as a democracy. Like, this is unacceptable. Speech that is legal but harmful. And so the platform would have to err on the side of caution, right? So, like, they would have to ban stuff that's not a problem, but because, like, they don't want to get fined by Britain. And here's another thing, right? This is something that the EU is doing, and it's absolutely disgusting. The EU has managed to over-regulate to the point where it's almost impossible for a social media company to be created in the European Union due to the GDPR, another flagship shit. Every single time they talk about flagship, it's a way for them to fuck with the economy and stifle creativity. Because due to GDPR, this is why the European Union doesn't have its own Facebook. This is why the European Union doesn't have its own YouTube. This is why we have no social media that is created by a country within the EU. And it's the bureaucracy, the regulations. It's not just the GDPR, but there's like many other reasons. And so like you need to be an obscenely wealthy company in order to comply with the bureaucracy. In other words, you need to be Facebook, Google, Twitter, TikTok. And the EU wants to tax these companies, but it can't because they're in Silicon Valley, right? So like instead of making our own companies here so we can tax them, they want to tax the American companies. And so by passing legislation like this, they can start constantly fining the companies to the point where it becomes a regular thing. And then the companies will just allocate money. It's like, okay, this is for the fines in the EU. And this is something that Elon Musk brought up, and he has a strong point. It's like, why is it that American companies have to constantly pay fines for the European Union by allowing them to create these absurd regulations? Again, legal but harmful speech. Like, what the fuck is that? Can you define it? No. Okay, so you can't define it, but you want us to remove it. Like, you yourself don't know what it is, but you expect us to know. And so, finally, Donald Trump is telling them to fuck off. And the United States, like, has a lot of power over the European Union. I keep hearing people whining about it. It's like, oh, why is America bullying the EU? And I'm like, well, because the people from within the EU, like a big chunk of us, are actually more pro-American than we are pro-European. And so they deserve it, because if you look at the European Union, where's our manufacturing? Well, our manufacturing is coming from China. Where did our energy come from? Well, our energy came from Russia. Where does our military come from? Well, our military comes from the United States. Where is our social media coming from? Well, our social media is also coming from the United States. So we're a vassal. Like, what the fuck are we producing? Why should we even be entertained at this point? Like, if you're going to constantly, like, cripple everything, right? Like, you don't have an energy sector, you don't have a military, you don't have a manufacturing sector, you don't have a social media apparatus. Like, what do you have? Oh, you have bureaucracy and legislation. We don't have artificial intelligence, but we have, like, the first legislation in the world that deals with AI in such a fucking way that even now, I can't see AI videos. Like, seriously, if you're in the European Union, you gotta install a VPN in order to see videos that are made with an AI. Like, why is that? Why do I have to do that? It's so annoying, right? And it's not about, like, me not being able to see it, but, like, why can't we, in the European Union, create our own AI? Why does everything have to be regulated all the way down to the fucking paper straw? And the shape of the banana, and all the other nonsense, including, like, the bottle cap. Anyway, right, so basically the UK has cocked, and they're basically saying that they're going to rethink the Online Safety Act. So if you're in the UK, you may actually benefit from this, but I think like the entire internet benefits from this. Again, like this would have been done without you even knowing, right? Like the Online Safety Act would pass in the United Kingdom, and then you would say something edgy on Twitter, and you would get banned. And you'd think, wow, why is Elon Musk punishing me so? And the reason is because, well, he doesn't want to get fined by the British government. And at the end of the day, you know, like, they do deserve social media blackout if this shit continues. It's like, they're not that big of a market. And if Facebook already fucked with Australia based on this. Like, Australia wanted Facebook to pay a link tax. Again, like, all this shit is done because all these governments are seething that they don't have their own social media, and they want to pay, make social media pay taxes, right? Like, get some revenue from these companies. And they wanted Facebook to pay a link tax to the people in Australia. And so Facebook told them to fuck off, and immediately Australia came back begging. Many people don't realize that Facebook, while indeed it's considered to be the platform for boomers, is the platform for boomers in the United States. In other parts of the world is the platform for the small business person. And so, like, if you open a cafe, if you open a small kiosk or a restaurant, the best place to advertise is on Facebook. Because they got, like, these little groups with small neighborhoods and small events. And that's, like, your targeted demographic. Like, if you open a restaurant on a specific neighborhood, then advertising it in that group is going to guarantee that you're going to get the biggest return investment on the advertisement. And so, like, when Facebook decided to abandon Australia, it caused a lot of chaos. Anyway, right, check my pinned comment, and I'll see you guys in the comment section. Take care.